Hey YouTube, coming at you with the top Great League teams. And before we do that, I normally go over the rankings, but I went over the rankings last week and absolutely nothing has changed. So it's been 1 week, nothing's changed. The only thing that has changed is Galarian Wheezing. Now, I actually just shot this and had to stop the video because Galarian Wheezing Shadow is ranked 51 and the non-Shadow is ranked 64. And when I did this analysis when it came out about a week ago, I did this comparison because you can click Shadow even before it was out, and it gave up some and it won a couple and it also lost a couple that before, and it was basically a wash. So when I saw rank 51 here over 64 for the non-Shadow, I'm like, oh, maybe something's changed. And then I put it into their matchups against the top meta, like the Great League meta, and the Shadow Galarian Weezing has an 18-22 record for a 493 average, and the non-Shadow has 19-21 for a 513 average. And I only have an economics undergrad, but last time I checked, having higher wins and higher average, you'd think that it would be ranked higher than the Shadow version. So I do not know why. Okay, I can actually just see. Let me just see that there. Okay, okay. I know why. I know why now. So, on average, one more win for the regular Weezing, higher overall average. The losses here, 232 is the lowest versus 175 Typhlosion. It's still worse on Galarian Weezing. So why is the Shadow ranked higher? In the PV Poke Sims, you get ranked higher based on how you do against the top tier meta Pokemon. So yes, in this analysis, in the Open Great League, you're going against how many here? 40 Pokemon, right? But when it comes to ranking your position on the sort of overall ranking system, it goes against the top meta Pokemon. Now, how I just kind of recognize what's going on here is Clodsire, Gastrodon, both in like the top 5. Clodsire is number 1 and 2, right? 1 with Stone Edge, 1 with Sludge Bomb, and 2 with Stone Edge. And then Gastrodon's what, top 5, something like that, and Carbink's the top, same thing right there, right, at 317. So that's the Shadow version. And then when you look at the non-Shadow, so Clodsires are at 294, and the non-Shadows are at 232. And same thing, the Gastrodon is at 302, and the Gastrodon here is at 248. So what does that mean if you don't know what these numbers are? That means that the Galarian Shadow Weezing still loses. Don't get me wrong, still loses these matchup, but loses by less as the Shadow in the Clodsire Gastrodon than it does here. So it loses more. And same thing, Carbink's at 289 here, while it is at 317 here. So your losses are less. Now, your overall average is still lower and your win-loss is lower. So overall, you're still going to do better with the non-Shadow Galarian Weezing. But because it's weighted against some of the top meta Pokemon more, Galarian Weezing is technically Shadow version is ranked higher than the non-Shadow version. So that is what is happening there. So again, in the long run, I don't think it matters too much which one you use in the Great League. I think it'll probably have more play in the Ultra League. Weezing always has more play in the Ultra League than the Great League. It still has some play in the Great League, but again, there's other options as well. So let's look at some top teams. Anyways, that's just a quick analysis. Let's look at some top teams here. One I just put out yesterday, in case you missed it. Clodsire for Alligator, Raticate, and Raticate has... go check out the video, because I did a full analysis on Raticate, sort of like Beyond the Hype style, where I just talk about like, look, it's got kind of like everything going for it right now, yet it's so low ranked on PvPoke. It's got the bulk, the stat product is fantastic, low attack, high defense and stamina. It's got a very fast charging, like quick attack. It's on par with like Vine Whip and Powder Snow for your energy per turn. You have a pretty good damage per energy quick crunch, only takes like 6 quick attacks to get to the first crunch. And then if you purify it, which this one is purified, you get a same type attack bonus because the normal typing return that does like 2.4, 2 point something damage per energy. It's a nuke. You get like 150 damage on it. So, and then you're typing. What has always been a drawback for Raticate is that it is double weak to fighting. And fighter was literally everywhere in the meta for the last few seasons. But it's not anymore. In fact, it's pretty small right now. Some very, very few, but some Pangoros, some champs, and then some Pokemon that have like superpower like Chestnut and Malamar and stuff. But for the most part, you're not having to worry about that. Plus, with all the Clodsire and poisons out there, there's not as many fairies either because everyone's so worried about the poison. So Raticate is definitely one that should be rising. If you haven't used it, it's a great Pokemon. Every single time I've used it over the past like 5-6 seasons, I've done well with it and usually win with it. So paired it just with 2 safe top tier meta Pokemon, Clodsire for Alligator. Again, not really covering. Well, I guess the Clodsire covers the fairy weakness that Raticate has, and the fighting. So it actually is kind of like a balanced team with a safe swap and for Alligator. So from that perspective, it does work as well. Speaking about not a lot of fairies, there isn't a lot of fairies, and rightfully so because there are so many poisons. However, what you can do is just kind of do a very balanced team to deal with that. So put Quagsire on the lead to deal with all those poisons. Deal with Clodsire, deal with Drapion, deal with anything that has a poison move, right? Because you're ground. So running Mud Bomb also to cover that weakness hits super effective. I just like Mud Bomb more than Stone Edge 2, quite honestly. So a very balanced team. You will have a bit of problems with Quagsire and Wiggly if you run into like a grass poison. So if it's something like Shadow Vic or Venusaur, that'll cause you a bit of problem, which is where Drapion comes into play because it is poison. It will resist the grass. So you can save swap out of that and then try and combo it. Again, not a ton of those Pokemon in this meta anymore right now. This is a VR Showcase team, and I titled it Arctivax may be the best dragon in the meta. And where I think it really has its strength is that duo typing of Dragon Ice. I think that the dragon has a lot of play, just resisting water, resisting grass, and maybe 1 or 2 other things. I forget off the top of my head what dragon resists. But those 2 for sure, water, grass, fire. And then it has an ice typing, and this kind of meta is looking for an ice type Pokemon. Dugong is your sort of go-to one, but I think there should be more options for ice because given how many ground type Pokemon there are, being able to hit super effect there. So Dragon Breath, hard hitting, and then Dragon Avalanche is a really nice charge move. So that's a pretty balanced team to a certain extent. You have Dunsparce as your safe swap, Toxapex in the back, Toxapex dealing with your fairy weakness, dealing with your fighting weakness. Arctipex, one more thing that Dragon resists is electric, because Toxapex is weak to electric. Arctipex has a Dragon resist electric, right? So they balance each other out with a safe swap. So yeah, if you're looking for a Dragon type Pokemon, definitely top one. These are like 3 of my favorite Pokemon to use all on one team. So Kanto Ninetales has been sort of channel mascots for since I started the channel, like 3.5 years ago. I think it's just very strong. Yes, it's a little trickier in this meta with a bunch of ground Pokemon, but you know, the Mud Boys, Quagsire, Whiscash, Swampert, they all got nerfed this season, so there's less of those Pokemon, which is nice. And also, Overheat can one-shot for Alligator. If you want to see that, go check out this video. And then Sableye, I loved using Sableye as a safe swap. And then during the first week of the season, I used Shadow Sableye as a safe swap. It is not a safe swap. So you use the Purified Sableye as a safe swap, or you use the non-Shadow... Sorry, use the non-Shadow Purified as a safe swap, or you use the Shadow as a more glassy, attack-heavy Pokemon. So that's what I did on this team. It is really strong overall with those boosted Shadow claws and foul plays based on your 20% more Shadow bonus, I think it is. And then Superior, just Ninetales is weak to water and it's going to have problems with that, and ground, so you might as well cover that weakness with probably the best grass Pokemon in this meta, Superior. So a lot of safe, I just went with a lot of balanced teams here. So Marowak, weak to grass, weak to water. Abomasnow will cover that. Again, I think this meta is looking for good ice and grass type Pokemon, so I might as well just put both in one. And then Dunsparce is your safe swap. So pretty easy. I really like Cancel Marowak because you could just kind of like out spam Pokemon with, not out spam, but just kind of like out damage them in like the 1 to 2 shields, because those Mud Slaps and Bone Clubs add up quite a lot. Obviously, pending that they're not resisted by like Grass or Flying. I've already talked about 2 of these Pokemon, so let's just go to Dugong. Dugong is still, there's 5 safe swaps, 5 top safe swaps of Great League right now, in my opinion. For Alligator, obvious one. Drapion, if you haven't used it, it's an obvious one. Dunsparce, I think, is very strong. And Dugong is, I said 5, but Dugong is definitely probably 4th on my list for safe swap. Just bulky, good coverage, less lanterns and stuff to worry about this season. Yeah, so just between the bulk and the coverage and the lowering either attack with Icy Wind and hitting against like stuff that resists the ice shards like Steels with Drill Run, like just a great coverage Pokemon to have. This one I went ABB style. Again, safe swap Dugong, try and draw out a fighter. Again, it is weak to electrics and grass, so it's not like a pure ABB. But try and draw out a fighter. Marowak will, and then or electric, and then Marowak will beat the electric. Yeah, even in the video, I recommended going like Clodsire to deal with the fighting, because this is a stance that shows double weak to fighting. So I said use something like Clodsire instead of Marowak because it'll help you there. And then Home Slice put out one of someone who hit Legend this season already, and it was Toxapex, Diggersby, Talonflame, even though I saw a different version on Yonx's channel. So I like this one. You know, you have 3 anti-fighter answers, which there's not a lot of fighter any. Oh, no, sorry. You have Diggersby weak to fighting, but you have 2 anti-fighters on either side of it. You are, again, double weak to electric, but you have Diggersby that can deal with that. Super bulk on Diggersby and Toxapex, which is good because Talonflame is pretty glassy. Buffed Incinerate, running the double flying moves and Fly and Brave Bird. And yeah, there's a lot of like, not a lot of, there's a decent amount of poisons and ground type Pokemon out here. So having a ground yourself and a flyer is a nice answer for those. So that is also Galar Cup. So I put out how to try to think through those teams this morning. And then that is it. So we'll probably do both. I've got one team that I'm going to showcase that I just did for Great League tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon, and we'll do like a Galar Cup. We'll see how I play with that today during League Turnover, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is it. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the thumbs up and any comments you have. And I will see you guys in the next one.